Good morning, everyone. This is another marriage devotional. We're the Washingtons, David and Carol.
Hi.
Today's topic, we're going to talk about love and respect. And I'll definitely want to start out by saying love and respect isn't something that we just have it down to a T. Yeah, we're masters at it. We're not. It's a process for us to continue to love and respect each other and to learn how to do that. And I go back early on in our marriage, love and respect isn't something that came natural to me like I thought it did. My understanding of love and respect was I'll just say opposite of how God intended. Love and respect. I'll give you an example. She would come and say to me, "Hey, what do you think about this outfit? I just bought this outfit. What do you think? How does it look?" I'll give her just a quick glance, and I'll say, "Yeah, that looks nice." And that's all I had. I'd go on and do whatever it was I was doing. She can come back another time and say, "Hey, check out these shoes. Do these shoes look nice with these jeans?" "Yeah, that's good." And then I'm off again, doing my own thing. She would cook this elaborate meal, at times. And I'm going to town. I'm enjoying this meal. And she would say, "Hey, so what do you think? You like it?" "Yeah, it's good." But that's all I had. I was so limited in my thinking when it came to love, how to encourage my wife, how to inspire her, how to make her feel, good, how to make her feel what she wanted to feel. She wanted to feel appreciated. But if all I was sharing was good and nice and yeah, that's nice. Really quick, she wasn't feeling any of those things. And it took a while for me to actually get there. It took other people noticing times when I was short and reminding me, "Dude, that wasn't very loving, what you just shared with your wife." Or sisters even saying to me at times, "Wow, Dave, that's all you got," kind of thing. And we all laugh it off. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm kind of hearing this often. Maybe something isn't right with me. Maybe I'm not being as loving toward my wife as I should be. And then it took her also coming to me and saying, "Hey, can we sit down and talk? Here's how I'm feeling." So again, I had to get my arms around that and realizing that, dude, you don't have this all figured out like you think you do. And so, if I were to sit down and ask people today, ask a couple of guys, "Hey, do you know how to love your wife?" I'm sure they would look at me and smile and go, "Yeah." "Do you know how to respect him and encourage him?" "Yeah, sure." That's the normal response. That was surely my response. But again, I had to ask myself, what does it mean to love your wife? It was something brand new to me to even ask that question, and kind of a weird question because again, I thought I had it all figured out. There's a website called Next Love, and on this website they surveyed 43,000 divorced women and single parents. And the question was, what is it that's causing the split? In marriages, what is it? So they did this top 10 reason women divorce their husbands. And number 10 was money problems. And I thought, wow, well, we all at some point will face money problems, but is that a reason that we should actually split? Number 9 was household problems. Maybe your spouse isn't as neat or as clean as you are, or maybe there's struggles, changing light bulbs. I don't know, a household problem. I don't know really what defines that, but even that, is that a reason to split? Maybe it could be issues with the kids. Is that a reason to split? Number 9, they came up with physical abuse. And as difficult as it is to know that it's happening, to witness that that's happening in a marriage, it sends chills up my spine, sometimes even thinking about the abuse. But it's obvious when love and respect has no place in that marriage. Number 7, they came up with boredom. And again, I'm thinking boredom. Wow, I know when I'm with my buddies and my wife is with her BFS, we always have a blast. We get creative. We think of things to do to have fun and entertain each other. I'm thinking, wow, how much more should we be doing that in our marriages? Boredom shouldn't even play a part in there. Number 6, they said misconduct. And this could be, a pretty broad scale misconduct. You've intentionally wronged your spouse, whether it was, adultery, abusive language, rolling your eyes or sucking your teeth. We're probably all familiar with that, to express disappointments. These types of behaviors, they don't show love or respect toward one another. Mental illness was number 5. And again, it made me think of our vows, for better or for worse. Do we remember those vows? And I know there are different situations in our marriages that are a lot harder to deal with. But in these situations, when it comes to whatever illness it is, those are times we need to love and respect even more. Number 4, they have listed lack of intimacy. And can that be a lack of intimacy, that there's no communication before or during or even after intimacy? The expectations that, we may have for each other, do we know what they are? Do we communicate those expectations? That can play a role in a lack of intimacy, I'm assuming. But is that a reason to split? Number 3 was constant quarreling. We complain to each other about each other, or we complain to our friends about each other without even listening, without even giving each other the opportunity to explain yourself or even to confess your sins. How is that working? That constant quarreling, why is that happening? Number 2, which I thought was going to be number 1, but number 2, they have infidelity. And, when you think of the world and what the world expectation is, infidelity is normal. These types of things that happen in your marriage, then you know what? Go hook up with someone else, excuse me, to kind of ease the pain. The world will tell you, you got to ease the pain. And so you run off to someone else. When in actuality, that just intensifies the pain. Right. And then the number 1 reason that they have are different life goals. The husband his goals are over here doing this. The wife, her goals are over here doing that. And everybody's off. You're off on your own, doing your own thing. And there's no, you're not taking care of each other. I'm thinking, wow, well, somebody maybe hold off on your goals and help the other attain, reach theirs, and then vice versa. That's what makes the marriage more exciting. And this could be just my opinion, but that's how I feel. That makes it more exciting, the help from one another to get these goals. It's okay to have different life goals, but they still should be shared, and you help each other, reach those goals. So, again, it got me thinking, man, husbands, can it be that our wives feel these things because we really don't know how to love them? Is this the reason, these reasons that they gave, these 10, what are we doing in these areas of these 10? I'm sure there's many more, but is it our lack of showing them love? And, not that it should be used, not that it's okay for the women to go ahead and do that, but we do need to question ourselves. What are we doing to love our wives? What does it mean for a husband to really love his wife? In Ephesians 5, verse 25, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. When we love our wives, we love her as Christ loved the church. We are the church. Christ died for us. And this isn't talking more on a physical death. Husbands, if you love your wife, then die for her. Although if it came down to that, I'm sure we will do those things. But this is more on a day-to-day basis. Are we loving our wife the way Christ loved us? Are we considering her thoughts, her feelings? Even when we have to make the smallest decision, do we consider her thoughts and her feelings? How often are we, or how quick are we to ask our wives to sit down and talk with us because of something that we may be feeling? Again, big or small. Are we doing those things like that just to keep the communication going, which may help prevent the boredom, may help prevent the quarreling, may help prevent the lack of intimacy and anything else on that list or that we may come up with. Communication is huge, but we have to love enough to want to do those things. And not that I think it should be accepted, this excuse. However, I think it can be difficult for our wives to respect us if we're not loving them. Husbands, when we respect our wives, we love them.
Yeah, and on the subject of respect, unfortunately, I do have to confess that I didn't always love my husband and respect him in the way that the Bible commands. I've used sarcasm, like whatever you say, to shut him down or to end a conversation. I've had critical thoughts, criticizing his thoughts and ideas because I thought that I had better thoughts and ideas. I've been guilty of shaking my head no as he's speaking to me. And we all know the rolling of eyes and the deep sigh when we feel like, here he goes again. All these things I've done, and I've hurt my husband. I was compelled to repent when I realized that all these things are disrespectful and could totally emasculate my husband. The command in Ephesians 5:25-31 that David read says something about the needs of the person on the receiving end. In other words, if the Bible said that a shepherd should feed his sheep, it's clear that sheep need to eat, right? Well, when the Bible tells husbands to love their wives, it becomes clear that wives need to be loved. Well, likewise, in the latter part of Ephesians 5 in verse 33, where it says, and the wife must respect her husband, it becomes blatantly clear that our husbands need to be respected. So think of it this way. Think of two different types of vehicles. Some trucks, let's say these trucks are our husbands, run on diesel fuel. Mm-hmm. And cars, which we'll say are us wives, run on regular fuel. You can't put regular fuel in those trucks and expect those trucks to run properly. Same thing, you can't put diesel fuel in cars and expect us cars to run properly. Men run on respect and women run on love. Proverbs is full of wise words about the use of our words or the lack of words. I think it can also apply to our body language. Proverbs 13:3, and I'm going to put in the female tense, says, she who guards her lips guards her life, but she who speaks rashly will come to ruin. Proverbs 29:20 says, do you see a woman who speaks in haste? This is more hope for a fool than for her. Proverbs 18:13 says, she who answers before listening, that is her folly and her shame. Disrespect of our husbands can cause some serious marriage issues if it's not repented of. I'm not saying that we shouldn't speak, but what I'm saying is we should be quick to listen and slow to speak or react. Here's an example. David and I are going out for a very special date. We meet downstairs, and I'm wearing a beautiful black cocktail dress, and David actually has on one of my favorite outfits. It's a nice button-up shirt, kind of lavender. He has on a nice sharp pair of jeans, nice and crisp, and a beautiful pair of shoes. But my response in that moment is, you're going to wear that? What I could have said and what I could have done instead of reacting to how my husband was dressed, I could have said, wow, you look great. But I'm realizing I forgot to tell you something. I forgot to tell you that we're going to a restaurant that has a dress code. Tie and a suit jacket are required. This scenario was much more respectful, right? Because I complimented him and I didn't tear him down or belittle him. So I had to train my way of thinking and speaking and not simply react. Sisters, some of our most powerful moments are going to be the ones in which we remain silent. Some of the most powerful words are the ones that we do not say. When a wife loves her husband, she respects him.
Yeah, I believe that love and respect go hand in hand, especially when it comes to a marriage. It's hard to have one without the other. And if we want our marriages to be godly, then we can't shortchange either of those. We can't shortchange love or respect. The world says that if this were to happen or if that were to happen, then you should put limits on those things. And, we see what happens, when that advice is actually followed. It's devastating. And we previously discussed those in those top 10 reasons. Again, there's more reasons than that. But the best advice comes from God's word. Genesis 2 verse 24 says that this is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. This isn't simply moving away from mom and dad. The King James Version reads like this: Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. To cleave means to adhere to or to stick to join with. It's a unique joining of two people into one entity. When our marriages hit a crossroad, we leave and cleave. It's continual. It's something that we got to continue to do. We go to God first, then we leave and cleave. It doesn't mean leave one another and cleave to someone or something else. Perhaps we could be quicker, to come to a resolve, so that the devil doesn't build on the negative feelings that are inside. Listen to one another express their heart without forming an opinion or coming up with some kind of excuse. In Ephesians 3, it talks about considering one another. We have to consider one another. I think we also need to use wisdom that God gave each of us to figure out a way to make what God has brought together work, make it last until we're all called home. Thank you so much. Amen.